Wait, before you doubt this, before you say, not again, before you assume this is just another motivational line, breathe, because something actually ended. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. You may not even realize it yet. You woke up lighter. You reacted calmer. You felt less attached to something that once controlled you. That is not random. That is completion. Congratulations. It's done. The cycle that drained you. The lesson that stretched you. The season that exhausted you. It reached its limit. You thought you were still inside it, but you were already walking out. Sometimes the hardest battles don't end with celebration. They end with quiet clarity. You stopped chasing. You stopped over-explaining. You stopped over-tolerating. And that internal shift closed the door. You will never have to go through that exact version again, because you are no longer that version of yourself. The pain taught you. The silence trained you. The delay strengthened you. You were tested in patience, tested in boundaries, tested in emotional control. And you passed, not perfectly, but persistently. There were moments you almost returned to old habits, almost reopened old conversations, almost reacted the old way. But you didn't. You paused. You thought. You chose differently. That difference is everything. Completion does not mean the world changes instantly. It means you changed permanently. The trigger no longer triggers the same way. The memory no longer controls the same way. The environment no longer intimidates the same way. You stabilized, and stability closes cycles. You will not relive that confusion again, not because life won't challenge you, but because you now recognize patterns faster. You will not overextend yourself the same way. You will not ignore red flags the same way. You will not abandon your boundaries the same way. That lesson cost you. It cost you comfort. It cost you relationships. It cost you peace for a while. But it bought you awareness. And awareness is expensive. You are not entering another identical storm because you built internal shelter. Think back honestly. The situation that once consumed your mind feels distant now, not because it disappeared, but because it lost its grip. That loss of grip is growth. You graduated from that emotional level. Graduation doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with relief, a subtle feeling of, I'm not there anymore. You may not even know when the shift happened. It happened gradually, through restraint, through discipline, through choosing silence over reaction, through choosing dignity over desperation, through choosing patience over panic. That is strength, and strength breaks repetition. You will face new challenges, but not the same weakness, not the same insecurity, not the same confusion, because the old version of you expired quietly, and the new version stands differently. In the next part, we'll talk about what this completion unlocks, and why the relief you feel is actually a doorway. Now listen carefully, because when something truly ends, something quietly begins. Completion is not emptiness. It is space. Space for clarity. Space for stability. Space for better decisions. The reason you will never go through that again is not because life stopped testing you. It is because you stopped responding the same way. You matured. You became less reactive, less desperate, less attached to outcomes you cannot control. That emotional detachment is power. You used to overthink. Now you observe. You used to panic. Now you pause. You used to chase. Now you choose. That shift changed your trajectory. The same lesson cannot repeat when the student has evolved. You learned boundaries. You learned self-respect. You learned timing. You learned when to stay silent. You learned when to walk away. Those lessons were expensive, but they were permanent. You may still remember how painful it felt, but notice this: you don't feel powerless anymore. That power returning to you is proof of growth. You will not tolerate confusion like before. You will not ignore your intuition like before. You will not sacrifice your peace like before. That chapter closed because you refused to remain the same. And when you refuse to remain the same, life responds differently. New opportunities feel cleaner. New conversations feel calmer. New decisions feel steadier. You are not operating from survival anymore. You are operating from awareness. Awareness prevents repetition. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You don't need closure from others. You created closure internally. And internal closure is the strongest kind. That is why you feel lighter. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything is clearer. Clarity is freedom. Freedom from emotional loops. Freedom from mental overanalysis. Freedom from chasing what was never aligned. Congratulations, it's done. That emotional version of you graduated. The insecure version, the overly accommodating version, the version that doubted your worth, gone. Not erased, but evolved. And evolution doesn't move backward. It stabilizes forward. There may be moments where memory tries to pull you back, but memory is not momentum. You have momentum now. Momentum built from discipline. Momentum built from patience. Momentum built from choosing differently. This is not the end of growth. It is the end of repetition, and repetition is what once drained you. Now, instead of repeating pain, you are building stability. Before this ends, pause for a moment. Think about the situation that once felt impossible, the one you thought would break you. Notice how it no longer controls you the same way. That is evidence. If you feel that relief, if you recognize that growth, hold on to that awareness, and if one word describes what you learned from that season, keep that word with you, because you didn't just survive it, you completed it. And completion changes everything.